Thanks for staying with us, everyone. You're watching What Now as we turn attention now to Africa, where veteran opposition figure Anicet Akane has died in military custody in Cameroon. Akane passed away on Monday morning in Yaoundé, the country's capital, and that's 38 days after security forces detained him in the port city of Douala. His death has sparked widespread outrage and threatens to deepen the political turmoil gripping Cameroon following October's disputed presidential election, which saw 92-year-old Paul Biya claim another term after more than 4 decades in power. Akane, the leader of the African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, a left-wing party, was seized on October the 24th after backing Biya's rival, Issa Chiroma Bakari, who has rejected official results and insists he won the vote. Authorities charged Akane with insurrection and rebellion, allegations his party characterized as politically motivated. Akane's party had issued an urgent appeal on Sunday demanding his immediate transfer to a civilian hospital, warning it would hold the government accountable for any consequences. Let's analyze this further. Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, David Awarawa, joins me from Lagos via Zoom. Good to have you join us, Prof.
Thank you for inviting me.
So interesting developments in Africa as it has to do with the aftermath of presidential elections we've seen this year. In Cameroon, we've now seen, heard of the report of the death, sadly, of an opposition figure, Anicet Akane. I want to ask you what you make of that, especially because the cause of death has also not been confirmed or ascertained.
Yeah, I would rather say this happening development in Africa, this time in Cameroon, is a death that would easily have been preventable because there was no reason for him to have been arrested. It was part of the election. He was not satisfied with the results. He took sides with Chiroma, and that shouldn't be an offense for which someone is arrested. And so his death is upsetting. And condemnable. We hope that it doesn't further exacerbate tension in Cameroon, where the country is already very unstable, arising from, government's decision to stifle opposition and, other activities of the government that haven't gone well for the political system in that country.
There are now calls for investigation. Even the government spokesperson, Renee, yesterday did mention that government will investigate. But I'm wondering if there's credibility to any sort of investigation that the government would carry out. Who should investigate, and how should authorities in Cameroon be held accountable?
Only the international community can mount pressure on Cameroon. Cameroon and its government and president, we don't expect them to indict themselves. I mean, if they are found culpable. And so nothing will come out of the investigation, just like, the usual rhetoric to say we'll investigate and then we'll take action, but nothing will come out of it. He shouldn't have been arrested in the first place, which is why I said earlier that the death of the opposition leader is actually upsetting. So it's the international community that should mount pressure on Cameroon to ensure that moving forward, these kind of things are not allowed to happen.
And you already mentioned, the heightened tension, political tensions arising from the last election in Cameroon. I'm wondering if, when you piece all of this together, is there a sense that Cameroon anytime soon will gain some level of political stability?
It doesn't seem so, because the elections themselves were very irregular. And we have seen all sorts of centrifugal forces and vociferous tendencies across Cameroon. We have those who are even calling for secession. They are also there. They are not satisfied with developments in the country. The man who is 92-year-old, Paul Biya, wants to continue to maybe 100 or even beyond 100. These are not the kind of things that make for political stability. So in Cameroon, if you ask me, I would say things will get a lot worse until they get better at some point when the government begins to do the right things in that country. Unfortunately, it's not only in Cameroon. In Tanzania, too, we have seen that happen. In Uganda, Bobby Wine did not allow him rest. In Cote d'Ivoire, the same thing. But we have good examples in Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Malawi, where opposition is allowed to function and even win election if the people want them to, elect them. But these are the kind of things happening in Cameroon are things that we condemn. They do not speak to, good democratic culture. In fact, if you ask me, I would say Cameroon does not have a democracy. Democracy does not permit you to arrest a leader of opposition just because it does not agree with the result of an election. So the Cameroon needs to do what is right for genuine stability to be achieved.
President Paul Biya has always struggled with the legitimacy question. It's not the first time, but he has found a way around it, to continue to govern. But how challenging will this be for him this time when you consider age and consider now the added factor of the death of an opposition figure?
Well, I don't think it will add a lot because Paul Biya has found a way around getting to be accepted by a section of the country, and then, using high-handed tactics to silence everybody else. I've said this several times. Other public office holders, other elected individuals, the parliament, they are all culpable because Paul Biya cannot do this alone. The Electoral Commission that declared the election was not Paul Biya. It is when all of these other segments of Cameroon society begins to do what is right that stability will be restored in Cameroon. But I don't see the death of the opposition leader to be a major issue. Somehow we will look a way around it and then get on. But the people who can get things to really change are other elected officials, parliament especially, and others, even the electorate themselves. If we didn't have up to 20%, I'm not sure he will be president. So all of these other groups, when they begin to do what is right, that is when Cameroon will know genuine democracy and then stability.
Prof, I think it was in 2018 where we saw a terrible decline. I'm trying to figure out what that year, but I believe it was 2018, a terrible decline in terms of democracy index around the world. I mean, it looks like, almost every country, the democracy in most countries suffered that year. Are we having the same situation this year, especially in Africa, when you look at the aftermath of the elections we've had, whether it's Tanzania, Cameroon, now Guinea-Bissau, that has led to a coup?
Of course, the new wave that was giving us hope for optimism, new wave of democracy, second wave, third wave, and all. There is a setback. We have coups in many African countries now that didn't have coups until recently. And then where there are no coups, we have had governments elongating themselves, changing constitution to elongate their terms and perpetuating themselves in office. These are not principles and tenets of democracy. And so, democracy is suffering a setback around the world, even in the US, but especially in Africa, where we have had elections that are not elections, changing of constitutions illegally, and also, like we have seen in Cameroon now, arrest and harassment of opposition leaders, which are all required for democracy to be able to function properly. So yes, I agree with you. Democracy has suffered a setback in the past 2-3 years in Africa, and of course, across the world as well.
Following developments around Africa, and Prof, you know that once there are issues like this, we'll always have you on to help us analyze them. Thank you so much for your time as always, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, David Aworawo.
It's a pleasure.